Hello everyone, my name is Anirudh and I welcome you to ILMS Academy, India's premier legal and management education portal. Get certified to enhance employability. In today's video, we are going to talk about the right to life and personal liberty, and I will explain the Article 21 in detail. This video attempts to examine the standards adopted for protecting the right to life and personal liberty. It further explains Article 21, which had lain dormant for nearly 3 decades and was brought to life by the landmark judgment of the Supreme Court's decision in Menka Gandhi versus the Union of India in 1978. It also goes through how Article 21 has been on this journey to emerge as the Indian version of the American concept of due process and deals with the emanating judicial trends in the right to life and personal liberty. Let's start with the introduction. Right to life and personal liberty is the most cherished and pivotal fundamental human right around which other rights of the individual revolve, and therefore the study assumes great significance. The study of the right to life is indeed a study of the Supreme Court as a guardian of the fundamental human rights. Article 21 is the celebrated provision of the Indian Constitution and occupies a unique place as a fundamental right. It guarantees the right to life and personal liberty to citizens and aliens and is enforceable against the state. The new interpretation of Article 21 in Menka Gandhi's case has led to a new era of expansion of the horizons of right to life and personal liberty. Let's look at the applicability of this right. The fundamental rights under Article 19 are conferred only on citizens, while the rights mentioned in clauses A to F are available to all persons, whether citizens or not. In a number of cases, the Supreme Court has held that foreigners are entitled to the protection under Articles 21 and 22. On the question of applicability of Article 21 to non-citizens, the Supreme Court has emphasized that even those who come to India as tourists also have the right to live so as long they are here, with human dignity, just as the state is under an obligation to protect the life of every citizen in this country. So also, the state is under an obligation to protect the life of the persons who are not citizens. Now let's understand the protection of life and personal liberty under Article 21. Article 21 lays down that no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to a procedure established by law. Article 21 assures every person the right to life and personal liberty. The term life has been given a very expansive meaning. The term personal liberty has been given a very wide amplitude, covering a variety of rights which goes on to constitute the personal liberty of a citizen. Its deprivation shall only be as per the relevant procedure prescribed in the relevant law, but the procedure has to be fair, just and reasonable. First, life. The expression life under Article 21 has been interpreted by the Supreme Court rather liberally and broadly. Over time, the court has been giving an expansive interpretation to the term life. The court has often quoted the following observation of Field Justice in Munn versus Illinois, an American case. By the term life, as here used, something more is meant than mere animal existence. The inhibition against its deprivation extends to all those limbs and faculties by which life is enjoyed. The provision equally prohibits the mutilation of the body by the amputation of an arm or leg. In Francis Corelli versus Union Territory of Delhi, the Supreme Court has held that the expression life in Article 21 does not merely connote physical or animal existence but embraces something more. We think that the right to life includes the right to live with human dignity and all that goes along with it, namely the bare necessity of life such as adequate nutrition, clothing and shelter over their head. A person's reputation is a facet of his right to life under Article 21 of the Constitution. In DBM Patnaik versus State of Andhra Pradesh, some prisoners challenged some restrictions as violating their rights under Article 21. The Supreme Court stated that a convict is not denuded of all his fundamental rights. Imprisonment after conviction is bound to curtail some of his rights. Example, freedom of speech or movement, but certain other rights. Example, the right to hold property could still be enjoyed by a prisoner. A convict could also claim that he should not be deprived of his life or personal liberty, except according to the procedure established by law. The Supreme Court has stated in R.M. Malkani versus the State of Maharashtra with reference to Article 21 that the telephonic conversation of an innocent citizen would be protected by courts against wrongful or high-handed interference by taping of the conversation by the police. The protection is not for the guilty against the efforts of the police to vindicate the law. Second, personal liberty. The expression liberty used in Article 21 has also been given a liberal interpretation. It does not merely mean the liberty of the body, that is freedom from physical restraint or freedom from confinement within the bounds of a prison, or freedom from arrest or detention, from false imprisonment or wrongful confinement, but means much more than that. The term personal liberty is not used in a narrow sense, but has been used in Article 21 as a compendious term to include within it all those varieties of rights of a person which go to make up with the personal liberty of a man. Now we need to look at some important judgments on this right. The Supreme Court held in Kharak Singh versus the state of Uttar Pradesh that while night domiciliary visits by police involving intrusions into his residence, knocking at his door and disturbing his sleep and ordinary comfort constitute an infringement of personal liberty of an individual enshrined in Article 21. Secret picketing of the house by the police or shadowing of his movement do not fall under Article 21 but under Article 19, Clause 1, Subclause D. But the minority view expressed by Justice Subba Rao adopted a much wider concept of personal liberty. It differed from the majority view that Article 21 excluded what was guaranteed by Article 19. He pleaded for an overlapping approach, that is, both Articles 21 and 19 are not excluding but overlapping each other. Agreeing with the approach of the minority in Kharak Singh, Justice Bhagwati observed in Maneka Gandhi, quote, "The expression personal liberty in Article 21 is of the widest amplitude, and it covers a variety of rights which go to constitute the personal liberty of a man, and some of them have been raised to the status of distinct fundamental rights and given additional protection under Article 19. Preventive justice requires an action to be taken to prevent apprehended objectionable activities. But at the same time, since a person's greatest of human freedoms, that is personal liberty, is deprived, the laws of preventive detention are strictly construed. Further, a meticulous compliance with the procedural safeguard, however technical, is mandatory. Personal liberty protected under Article 21 is so sacrosanct and so high in the scale of constitutional values that it is the obligation of the detaining authority to show that the impugned detention meticulously accords with the procedure established by law. Let's understand the procedure established by law. The most important words in this provision are procedure established by law. Immediately after the Constitution became effective, the question of interpretation of these words arose in the famous A.K. Gopalan case, where the validity of the Preventive Detention Act 1950 was challenged. Let's look at the first case, K. Gopalan versus the State of Madras. The issue was whether Article 21 envisages any procedure laid down by a law enacted by legislature or whether the procedure should be fair and reasonable. On behalf of Gopalan, an attempt was made to persuade the Supreme Court to hold that the courts could adjudicate upon the reasonableness of the Preventive Detention Act, or for that matter, any law depriving a person of his personal liberty. Let's look at the contentions of this case. First, the word law in Article 21 does not merely mean enacted law, but incorporates principles of natural justice so that a law to deprive a person of his life or personal liberty cannot be valid unless it incorporates these principles in the procedure laid down by it. Second, the reasonableness of the law of preventive detention ought to be judged under Article 19. Third, the expression procedure established by law introduces into India the American concept of procedural due process, which enables the courts to see whether the law fulfills the requisite elements of a reasonable procedure. Thus, in Gopalan, an attempt was made to win for a detainee better procedural safeguards than were available to him under the relevant detention law and Article 22. But all the arguments were rejected by the Supreme Court. Let's understand the holding. The Supreme Court ruled by majority that the word law in Article 21 was used in the sense of lex, that is, a state-made law, and not jus. The expression procedure established by law would, therefore, mean the procedure as laid down in an enacted law. On the other hand, Justice Fazal Ali, disagreeing with the majority view, held under the principle of natural justice that no one shall be condemned unheard was part of the general law of the land and the same should accordingly be read under Article 21. Gopalan settled two major points in relation to Article 21. First, 19, 21 and 22 were mutually exclusive and independent of each other, and that Article 19 was not to apply to a law affecting personal liberty to which Article 21 would apply. Second, a law affecting life or personal liberty could not be declared unconstitutional merely because it lacked natural justice or due procedure. the legislature was free to lay down any procedure for this process. Now we will look at the Menka Gandhi case, which gave the new approach to this right. Menka Gandhi versus Union of India is a landmark case, which showcased that Article 21, as interpreted in Gopalan, could not play any role in providing any protection against any harsh law seeking to deprive a person of his life or personal liberty. It is the dissent of Justice Fazal Ali which is vindicated by the law, subsequently developed by the Supreme Court, culminating in Menka. In Menka Gandhi case, the Supreme Court has shown great sensitivity to the protection of personal liberty. The court has reinterpreted Article 21 and practically overruled Gopalan, which can be regarded as a highly creative judicial pronouncement on the part of the Supreme Court. Let's understand some facts. Section 10, Clause 3, Subclause C of the Passport Act authorizes the Passport Authority to impound a passport if it deems it necessary to do so in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of India, the security of India, friendly relations of India with any foreign country, or in the interest of the general public. Menka's passport was impounded by the central government under the Passport Act in the interest of the general public. Menka filed a writ petition challenging the order on the ground of violation of her fundamental rights under Article 21. One of the major grounds of the challenge was that the order impounding the passport was null and void, as it had been made without affording her an opportunity of being heard in her defense. Let's understand the holding of this case. The court reiterated the proposition that Articles 14, 19 and 21 are not mutually exclusive. A nexus has been established between these three articles. There is a kind of mutual relationship between Articles 21 and 19. This means that a law prescribing a procedure for depriving a person of personal liberty has to meet the requirements of Article 19. Also, the procedure established by law under Article 21 must answer the requirements of Article 14 as well. According to Justice K. Iyer, no article in the Constitution pertaining to a fundamental right is an island in itself. The most significant and creative aspect of the Menka Gandhi case is the reinterpretation by the court of the expression procedure established by law, used in Article 21. The court now gave a new orientation to this expression. Article 21 would no longer mean that the law could prescribe some semblance of procedure, however arbitrary or fanciful, to deprive a person of his personal liberty. It now means that the procedure must satisfy certain requisites in the sense of being fair and reasonable. The procedure cannot be arbitrary, unfair, or unreasonable. The concept of reasonableness must be protected in the procedure contemplated by Article 21. The court has now assumed the power to adjudge the fairness and justness of procedure established by law to deprive a person of his personal liberty. The court has reached this conclusion by holding that Articles 21, 19 and 14 are not mutually exclusive but are interlinked. The procedure contemplated by Article 21 must answer the test of reasonableness in order to conform with Article 14. Thus, the procedure in Article 21 must be right and just and fair, and not arbitrary, fanciful or oppressive. Otherwise, it would be no procedure at all, and the requirement of Article 21 would not be satisfied. According to Justice Iyer, procedure in Article 21 means fair, not formal procedure. Law is reasonable law, and not any enacted piece. This makes the words procedure established by law by and large synonymous with the procedure due process in the USA. This makes the right of hearing a component part of natural justice. As the right to travel abroad falls under Article 21, natural justice must be applied while exercising the power of impounding a passport under the Passport Act. Although the Passport Act does not expressly provide for the requirement of hearing before a passport is impounded, yet the same has to be implied therein. The Supreme Court has widened the scope of procedure established by law and held that merely if a procedure has been established by law, a person cannot be deprived of his life and liberty unless the procedure is just, fair and reasonable. It is thus now well established that the procedure established by law to deprive a person of his life and personal liberty must be just, fair and reasonable, and that it must not be arbitrary, fanciful or oppressive. That the procedure to be valid must comply with the principles of natural justice. With this part comes to an end. Make sure to watch the second part to get an extended view of the Article 21. Visit ILMS Academy for various courses from contract drafting, RTI, labor law, GST and more. Get certified to enhance employability. Thank you for watching this video and see you in the second part.